The rain wasn't just falling, it was punishing the earth. And in the middle of it, Amara lay on a piece of soggy cardboard, convinced that the cold had finally come to claim her. She closed her eyes, wishing for warmth, wishing for a home she had never known. Then the rain stopped. Or at least it stopped falling on her. Amara opened her eyes. A large black umbrella was hovering over her head. She looked up, trembling, past the expensive fabric of a suit, past the diamond cufflinks, into the eyes of a man who looked at her not with disgust, but with a heartbreak so deep it mirrored her own. It was him. The stranger from the shadows. He didn't care about the mud ruining his Italian leather shoes. He dropped to his knees right there in the filth. "I told you I wouldn't forget," he whispered, his voice cracking with emotion. Amara tried to speak, but her teeth were chattering too hard. You came back?" He took off his warm suit jacket and wrapped it around her shivering shoulders. It smelled of expensive cologne and safety. He cupped her dirty face in his clean hands, wiping away the rain and tears. "I didn't just come back," he said softly, looking deep into her soul. "I came to take you home. You will never spend another night outside. I promise you." "Stop right there. This is the moment true love begins." Before we see how Amara went from a street sleeper to a queen, hit that subscribe button. And tell me in the comments, do you believe in love at first sight? Where are you watching from? 2 weeks before the rain brought her a prince, Amara was just a girl trying to survive. She worked at Mama G's kitchen. The work was hard, the hours were long, and the pay was non-existent. Madam Gloria, the owner, was a woman who believed kindness was a weakness. "Amara, move faster," Madam Gloria yelled, throwing a dirty rag at her. "Table 4 needs water. Do you think you are here to dream?" "I am hurrying, Ma," Amara said softly. She picked up the rag and wiped the table. Despite the yelling, Amara had a secret. She was happy inside. Not because of her life, but because she kept her heart pure. When she threw out the leftovers, she would sneak food to the stray dogs. When a beggar came to the window, she would give him her own share of lunch. "Why do you help them?" the dishwasher boy asked her one day. "You have nothing yourself." Amara smiled, wiping sweat from her forehead. "Because, Chike, love is the only thing we can give that doesn't cost money. Maybe one day someone will show me love too." But love seemed far away. Every night when the shop closed, Madam Gloria locked the doors. "Outside," Madam Gloria would command. "I don't want you stealing food while I sleep." And so, Amara slept in the alley. Her bed was cardboard. Her pillow was her arm. But even in the cold, she would look at the stars and hum a love song her mother used to sing. She was poor in pocket but rich in hope. It was a Tuesday night when fate knocked over a trash can. Crush. Amara sat up, clutching her thin shawl. A man stumbled into her alley. He wasn't a drunkard or a thief. Even in the dark, she could see he was different. He wore a white shirt that glowed in the moonlight, but a dark stain was spreading across his side. He fell against the wall, sliding down until he hit the ground. "Help," he whispered. Amara should have run. In this city, a bleeding man meant trouble. But Amara didn't see trouble. She saw pain. She crawled out from her cardboard fort. "Sir, are you okay?" The man looked up. His vision was blurry, but he saw a girl with eyes like a doe. "Please," he gasped. "Hide me. They are coming." Amara nodded. She didn't ask who they were. She grabbed his arm, it was heavy and muscular, and pulled him behind the large dumpsters where she kept her cardboard stash. "Stay here," she whispered, covering him with an old, clean tarp she saved for emergencies. "Be very quiet." Moments later, heavy footsteps ran past the alley. Men shouting. Then silence. Amara waited until she was sure they were gone. She pulled the tarp back. The man was breathing hard, sweating. "You are safe now," she said gently. She looked at his wound. It was a deep cut. Without hesitating, Amara took her shawl, the only thing keeping her warm, and tore a strip from it. She gently pressed it to his side. "I am sorry," she whispered. "This might sting." The man flinched, then looked at her. He saw her face illuminated by the moonlight. She wasn't just helping him, she was caring for him. "You are tearing your clothes for me?" he asked, his voice full of wonder. "You don't even know me." "You are hurt," Amara said simply. "That is all I need to know." Their eyes met. For a moment, the smell of the trash and the pain of the wound faded. There was a spark, electric and undeniable. "I am Daniel," he said, reaching out to touch her hand. "I am Amara," she replied, feeling a blush heat up her cheeks. "Amara?" he repeated. "Grace. That is what it means." He tried to give her his watch. "Take this. It will get you a room. A warm bed. Amara pushed his hand away gently. No. If I sell that, the police will arrest me. Just promise you will get home safe. Daniel looked at her, stunned. He had never met a woman who refused gold. He looked at the cardboard she slept on. He looked at her torn dress. And then he looked at her proud, beautiful face. I have to go before they come back, he said, standing up painfully. But Amara, I will come back for you. I promise. He squeezed her hand one last time, a touch that lingered on her skin long after he disappeared into the night. The memory of Daniel kept Amara warm that night. But the morning brought a cold reality. What is this? Madam Gloria shrieked. She was standing over Amara's cardboard bed, holding a silver pen. It had fallen from Daniel's pocket. It was engraved with initials, DK. I found this in the dirt. Madam Gloria yelled. You stole this. You have been stealing from customers. No, Ma. Amara cried. A man? I helped a man. He dropped it. Liar. Madam Gloria slapped Amara across the face. A man with a silver pen visiting a rat like you? Do you take me for a fool? She dragged Amara into the shop. You will work today to pay for your crime. And then I am calling the police. I will not have a thief sleeping behind my shop. Amara worked through her tears. She kept touching the hand Daniel had held. He promised, she thought. He said he would come back. But the hours ticked by. Morning turned to afternoon. Afternoon turned to evening. No Daniel. He was just a rich man, her mind whispered cruelly. He said sweet words to survive. He forgot you the moment he sat in his fancy car. By sunset, Amara's heart was broken. The sun set and the rain began. Madam Gloria threw Amara out into the mud. Officer. Here she is. Madam Gloria shouted, waving at the police van that had just pulled up. The thief. Take her away. A policeman stepped out, handcuffs dangling from his belt. Get up, girl. Amara stayed on her knees in the mud. She was too tired to fight. She closed her eyes, letting the rain wash over her. It's over, she thought. No one is coming. The policeman reached for her arm. Vroom. A roar of an engine shook the ground. Blinding headlights cut through the rain, turning the dark alley into daylight. A massive black SUV skidded to a halt, blocking the police van. The doors flew open. Four bodyguards stepped out with umbrellas, forming a line. And then he stepped out. Daniel. He wasn't hurt anymore. He looked powerful. He looked like a king. He walked straight past the stunned police officer, straight past the terrified Madam Gloria. He walked right to Amara. Officer, Daniel's voice boomed, deep and authoritative. Step away. Who are you? The policeman stammered. Daniel didn't look at the cop. He looked down at Amara huddled in the mud. The anger in his face melted into pure, unadulterated love. I am the man who is going to marry her, Daniel announced. He reached down and pulled Amara to her feet, pulling her chest against his. I told you I would come back, he whispered into her hair. And I brought the whole world with me. Daniel has returned and he just called Amara his wife in front of everyone. How will Madam Gloria react? And is Amara ready to leave the alley for a mansion? You cannot miss the romance in Chapter 2. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell to see their love story unfold. The silence in the alley was heavier than the rain. Wife? The policeman repeated, his baton lowering slowly. He looked at the shivering, dirty girl covered in mud, and then at the powerful man in the suit that cost more than the policeman's entire house. Sir, this is a misunderstanding. This girl is a thief. She stole nothing. Daniel's voice cracked like thunder. He stepped closer to the officer. She saved my life. And while you were sleeping in your warm bed, she was bleeding to keep me safe. Daniel turned his gaze to Madam Gloria. The cruel woman was shaking now, but not from the cold. She was shaking from fear. And you, Daniel said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. You are the woman who threw her out? The woman who hit her. Madam Gloria tried to smile, a fake, trembling smile. Sir, please. I was just disciplining her. She is my worker. I feed her. I clothe her. You feed her scraps. Daniel roared. I saw where she sleeps. I saw the cardboard. He snapped his fingers. One of his bodyguards stepped forward, handing Daniel a thick envelope. Daniel threw the envelope at Madam Gloria's feet. It landed in the mud. That is 1 million naira, Daniel said coldly. Madam Gloria's eyes widened. She bent down to grab it, greed overcoming her fear. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Don't thank me, Daniel cut her off. That is her severance pay. That is for every meal you denied her. For every night she slept in the cold. Take it. And close your shop. If I see this restaurant open tomorrow, I will buy this entire building and bulldoze it to the ground. Madam Gloria froze, clutching the muddy envelope. She knew who he was now. Daniel Kalu. The man who owned half the city. Daniel turned back to Amara. He didn't look at the mud on her face. He looked at her like she was the most precious diamond in the world. Let's go home, he whispered. He swept her up into his arms, carrying her bridal style toward the black SUV. Amara buried her face in his chest, sobbing. For the first time in her life, the tears were not from pain. They were from relief. Wait. The villain has been defeated, but the real challenge is just beginning. Amara is entering a world she doesn't understand. Hit that subscribe button. And tell me in the comments, if you were Amara, would you be scared or happy right now? The door clicked shut, cutting off the noise of the rain and the sirens. Amara sat on the edge of the leather seat. She was shivering, dripping muddy water onto the pristine floor mats. I am making it dirty, she whispered, her voice trembling. Sir, please, let me sit in the trunk. I will ruin your car. Daniel, sitting beside her, shook his head. He reached into a compartment and pulled out a soft, thick towel. He gently placed it over her wet hair. Amara, he said softly, I can buy 1,000 cars. I cannot buy another you. He started to dry her hair with gentle hands. Amara flinched at first, expecting a hit, but his touch was tender. Why? She asked, looking at him with wide, confused eyes. Why are you doing this? I just gave you a piece of cloth. I am nobody. Daniel stopped. He looked out the window at the passing city lights. 2 nights ago when I was bleeding in that alley, do you know why I was there? Amara shook her head. My own business partner tried to have me kidnapped, Daniel revealed, his voice hard. People who I made rich, people who ate at my table, they wanted to sell me for ransom. I have hundreds of friends, Amara. But when I was dying, not one of them was there. Only you. He turned back to look at her. You didn't know I was rich. You didn't know my name. You saved me because you have a good heart. In my world, a good heart is rarer than gold. Amara looked down at her rough hands. But I am a maid. I don't know how to be, whatever you are. You don't have to be anything, Daniel smiled, taking her hand. Just be Amara. The girl who saved me. The car slowed down. Massive iron gates swung open automatically. They drove up a long driveway lined with palm trees and lights. Amara gasped. The house in front of her wasn't a house. It was a palace. White pillars, huge glass windows, and a fountain in the center of the driveway. Is this a hotel? Amara asked. Daniel laughed softly. No. This is home. The car stopped. The driver opened the door. Daniel stepped out and helped Amara down. As soon as her muddy feet touched the marble steps, the atmosphere changed. A line of maids and butlers stood waiting. At the front was Mrs. Belima, the head housekeeper. She was a tall woman with a face that looked like it had never smiled. Mrs. Belima looked at Daniel, relief washing over her face. Master Daniel, you're safe. We heard about the attack. Then she looked at Amara. Her expression turned to pure horror. She looked at the mud dripping from Amara's dress onto the white porch. She wrinkled her nose. Master Daniel, Mrs. Belima said stiffly. Why have you brought a beggar into the main residence? Shall I direct her to the servants' quarters to be hosed down? Amara shrank back, trying to hide behind Daniel. She knew this look. It was the same look Madam Gloria gave her. The look that said you are dirt. Daniel's face hardened. He stepped in front of Amara, shielding her. Mrs. Belima, Daniel said, his voice cold and sharp. This is not a beggar. This is my guest. And you will treat her with the same respect you treat me. Mrs. Belima blinked, shocked. But sir, look at her. She is carrying diseases. The rugs. Burn the rugs if you have to. Daniel snapped. Prepare the master suite. Prepare a hot bath with the rose oils. And bring the silk robes. The blue ones. The master suite? Mrs. Belima stammered. But sir, that room is reserved for the future mistress. Do as I say. Daniel ordered. He turned to Amara, his face softening instantly. Ignore them. They're just surprised. Come. He led her past the stunned staff. Amara walked with her head down, feeling the burning stares of the maids on her back. She heard a whisper as she passed. Has he lost his mind? Bringing a gutter rat here? Amara squeezed Daniel's hand tighter. She felt safe with him, but she felt like an alien in this world of gold and white marble. Daniel left her at the door of the bathroom. I will wait outside, he promised. Take your time. Wash away the past. Amara locked the door. She turned around and gasped. The bathroom was bigger than the entire shop she used to work in. She turned on the tap. Warm water rushed out. She added the oils Daniel mentioned. The room filled with the scent of roses. Slowly she took off her torn, muddy dress. She looked at herself in the giant mirror. She saw her ribs showing. She saw the bruises on her arms from where the policeman grabbed her. She saw the dirt ingrained in her skin. She stepped into the water. She closed her eyes. It was the first hot bath she had ever had in her life. The heat soaked into her bones. The pain in her back faded. She scrubbed her skin until it was red, washing away the mud of the alley, the smell of the onions, the touch of Madam Gloria. She stayed in the water for an hour. When she finally stepped out, she felt light. She dried herself with a towel that felt like a cloud. She found the blue silk robe hanging on the door. She put it on. It was soft and cool against her skin. She looked in the mirror again. The dirt was gone. Her skin was glowing. Her eyes were bright. She didn't look like a maid anymore. She looked like a woman. A knock came at the door. Amara? Daniel's voice. Are you okay? Dinner is ready. Amara opened the door. Daniel was standing there. He had showered too and changed into fresh clothes. He looked up from his phone and froze. He stared at her. His mouth opened slightly. You are. He whispered. You are beautiful. Amara blushed, pulling the robe tighter. It is just the clothes, sir? No, Daniel said, walking closer. It is you. He offered her his arm. Shall we eat? They sat at the huge table, but they ignored the distance. Daniel pulled his chair right next to hers. Amara had never seen so much food. Chicken, jollof rice, salads, fruits. Eat, Daniel said gently. Eat as much as you want. Amara took a bite of chicken. She moaned in delight. It is magic. Daniel laughed. It was a warm, happy sound. He poured her a glass of juice. Tomorrow I will take you shopping. We will get you dresses, shoes, books, whatever you want. I don't need things, Amara said softly. I just need to know this isn't a dream. That I won't wake up on the cardboard. Daniel took her hand. It is not a dream. I am here. He leaned in closer. The air between them was electric. He looked at her lips. Amara's heart hammered in her chest. Was he going to kiss her? She closed her eyes, leaning in. Bang. The double doors of the dining room flew open violently. They hit the walls with a loud crash. Amara jumped, spilling her juice. Daniel stood up instantly, his face turning hard. A woman strode into the room. She was stunning. She wore a red dress that looked dangerous. Her heels clicked sharply on the floor. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was sharp. She looked at Daniel. Then her eyes slowly slid to Amara. Her gaze was like ice. So, the woman said, her voice dripping with venom. This is why you haven't answered my calls? She walked right up to the table and slammed a diamond purse down next to Amara's plate. Daniel, the woman sneered. Who is this little servant wearing my robe? Amara froze. She looked at Daniel. He looked pale. Jessica, Daniel said, his voice tight. What are you doing here? I live here, darling, Jessica laughed, a cruel, cold sound. Or did you forget to tell your little pet that you are engaged? She turned to Amara and smiled a shark smile. Get up, girl. You are sitting in my seat. Engaged. Daniel promised to marry Amara, but he already has a fiancée living in his house? Is Daniel a liar? And will Amara run back to the streets? Subscribe now and turn on the bell so you don't miss the confrontation. Get up. Jessica's voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the room like a knife. She pointed a manicured finger at the floor. You are dirtying the upholstery, Jessica sneered. Do you know how much this chair costs? It costs more than your entire village. Amara scrambled to her feet. The beautiful blue silk robe suddenly felt like it was suffocating her. She felt small again. She felt like the maid sleeping on cardboard. I am sorry, Amara whispered, backing away. I didn't know. Amara, stop, Daniel said. He stood up slowly. His face was a mask of fury. He looked at Jessica. You do not speak to her like that. You do not speak to anyone in my house like that. Jessica laughed. She walked over to Daniel and placed a hand on his chest. Your house. Daniel, honey, have you forgotten? Our fathers built this empire together. This is our house. And I am your fiancé. Or is this little charity case going to change the wedding date? She looked at Amara with pure disgust. Look at her, Daniel. She smells like the gutter. You bathed her, you dressed her in silk, but you can't wash the poverty off her. She is a maid. She belongs in the kitchen, not at the master table. Amara couldn't take it anymore. The shame burned her face hotter than the bathwater. I should go, Amara choked out. I shouldn't be here. She turned and ran. She ran out of the dining room, her bare feet slapping against the cold marble floor. Amara. Wait. Daniel shouted. He started to run after her, but Jessica grabbed his arm. Her nails dug into his suit jacket. If you walk out that door chasing a beggar, Jessica hissed, my father will pull his funding tomorrow. You will lose everything, Daniel. Daniel looked at Jessica's hand on his arm. Then he looked at her face. Lose everything? Daniel repeated quietly. Jessica, if I stay here with you, I have already lost my soul. He ripped his arm away from her grip and ran after Amara. Jessica stood alone in the dining room. Her face twisted into an ugly mask of rage. She picked up a crystal glass of wine and threw it against the wall. Smash. You will regret this, Daniel, she screamed at the empty room. I will make you both suffer. Oh my goodness. Daniel chose Amara over his business. But Jessica is dangerous. She has powerful connections. Do you think Daniel made the right choice, or is he risking too much? Tell me in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. Amara sat by the water, shivering. The magic of the evening was gone. The silk robe felt thin now. Amara, Daniel said softly, breathless from running. Amara wiped her eyes, but the tears kept coming. She is right. I am just a maid. I thought, for one moment, I thought I could be a princess. But Cinderella is just a fairy tale. Daniel sat next to her. He didn't try to touch her yet. He just sat close, letting his presence comfort her. Jessica is a liar, Daniel said. Yes, we were engaged. But not because I loved her. It was an arrangement. My father and her father. They treat marriage like a business deal. Merging companies, not hearts. He looked at the water. I have been lonely in this big house for years, Amara. Jessica loves my money. She loves the power. But she doesn't know me. When I was bleeding in that alley, she was probably at a party. You were the only one who stopped. Amara looked at him. But she is rich. She knows how to hold a fork. She knows how to talk to kings. I only know how to scrub floors. Daniel turned to her. He reached out and gently took her chin, lifting her face so she had to look at him. I don't need someone to talk to kings, Daniel whispered. I need someone who can talk to my heart. You have a dignity she will never understand. He took off his jacket again and placed it over her shoulders, covering the silk robe. I am ending the engagement, Daniel vowed. Tonight. I don't care about the money. I don't care about her father. I want you. Amara searched his eyes for any sign of a lie. She found none. But, what will she do? Amara asked fearfully. Let her try, Daniel said. She cannot hurt you while I am here. He stood up and held out his hand. Come back inside. Not as a guest, but as the woman I choose. Amara hesitated, then placed her hand in his. It was a choice to fight for this impossible love. While Daniel was confessing his love in the garden, Jessica was busy with hate upstairs. She walked into the master bedroom, the room Daniel had prepared for Amara. She saw the new dresses Daniel had ordered to be delivered that evening. Beautiful gowns, shoes, jewelry boxes laid out on the bed. Jessica picked up a pair of scissors from the desk. You think you can take my place? She whispered to the empty room. You think you can wear these clothes? Snip. Rip. She stabbed the scissors into a red velvet dress. She slashed a white silk gown. She threw the jewelry on the floor and stomped on a pearl necklace, crushing the beads. She went to the bathroom and poured Daniel's expensive cologne into the sink. She pulled the sheets off the bed and threw them on the floor. She wanted to make a point. She wanted Amara to see that she wasn't welcome. Then she pulled out her phone. She dialed a number. Hello? Daddy? Jessica said, her voice changing instantly. She sounded like a crying victim. Daniel. Daniel is hurting me. He brought a street walker into the house. He is humiliating us. Yes. Yes, bring the security team. Bring everyone. She hung up and smiled a wicked smile in the mirror. Let's see how much he loves her when he has nothing left. They walked up the grand staircase. You will stay in the guest wing tonight, Daniel said gently. Until I get Jessica out. I don't want you near her. Thank you, Amara said. They reached the top of the stairs. The door to the master suite was open. Daniel stopped. What on earth? He walked in. Amara followed. She gasped. The room was destroyed. The beautiful clothes were ribbons. The room smelled of broken perfume bottles. It looked like a storm had hit it. And sitting in the middle of the mess on the chair was Jessica. She was filing her nails calmly. "Oops," Jessica said, not looking up. "I think there was a rat in the room. I tried to catch it." Daniel's face went purple with rage. "Get out. Get out of my house." "Make me?" Jessica smiled. "You think you can throw me out?" Jessica laughed. "Daniel, look at this girl. Look at the mess. You are choosing this over our empire?" "I am choosing peace," Daniel shouted. "I am choosing love. Something you know nothing about." "Love doesn't pay the bills, Daniel," Jessica hissed. "Love doesn't keep the lights on in this mansion." She stepped closer to Amara. Amara flinched, hiding behind Daniel. "You are a curse," Jessica spat at Amara. "Since you arrived, everything is breaking. If you really care about him, you will leave. Can't you see you are ruining his life?" Amara felt a pang of guilt. Was it true? Was she destroying Daniel's life just by being there? "Don't listen to her," Daniel said firmly. He grabbed his phone. "I am calling security. You are leaving, Jessica. Now." "I don't think so," Jessica said. She checked her watch. "In fact, I think you might be the one leaving." Screech. Tires squealed in the driveway outside. Lots of tires. Heavy doors slammed. "What is that?" Amara whispered. Daniel ran to the window. He looked down. 3 black SUVs had pulled up. But they weren't Daniel's cars. They had government plates. And behind them was a silver Rolls-Royce. Daniel went pale. "No," he whispered. "Not her. Not tonight." "Who is it?" Amara asked, terrified. Daniel turned to Amara. "My mother." Jessica started laughing. "Game over, darling. The queen has arrived." The sound of the walking stick hitting the marble floor echoed through the house. Tap, tap, tap. The staff bowed low. Even Mrs. Belima looked terrified. This was Madam Gloria, the Iron Lady, the real power behind the family fortune. She didn't look left or right. She walked straight to the bottom of the stairs and looked up. "Daniel," she boomed. Her voice was strong, commanding. Daniel gripped the railing. "Mother." Madame Gloria's eyes moved to Jessica, who was smirking. Then her eyes moved to Amara. She stared at Amara for a long, silent minute. It felt like she was scanning Amara's soul. "Is this the maid?" Madame Gloria asked calmly. "She is not a maid, mother," Daniel said, his voice shaking slightly. "She is my wife. Or she will be." Madame Gloria laughed. It wasn't a nice laugh. "Come down here," Madame Gloria ordered. "Both of you." Daniel took Amara's hand. "Stay close to me. Don't speak unless she asks you." They walked down the stairs. Amara felt like she was walking to her execution. When they reached the bottom, Madame Gloria stepped forward. She looked at Amara's bare feet. She looked at the bruises on her arms. "You saved my son?" Madame Gloria asked. "Yes, ma," Amara whispered, bowing her head respectfully. "Raise your head," Madame Gloria commanded. Amara looked up. Madame Gloria raised her hand. Amara flinched, expecting a slap. But Madame Gloria didn't slap her. She reached out and grabbed Amara's chin, turning her face left and right. "Pretty," Madame Gloria muttered. "But weak." She let go of Amara and turned to Daniel. "Jessica called me," Madame Gloria said. "She told me you have lost your mind. She told me you are throwing away $1 billion merger for a street rat." "I love her, mother," Daniel said. "Love?" Madame Gloria scoffed. "Love is for poor people. We have a legacy to protect." She reached into her bag and pulled out a document. "This," she said, holding up the paper, "is the deed to this house. And the control of the company." She looked Daniel in the eye. "Kick this girl out right now and you keep your life. Keep her and you lose everything. The house. The money. The name. You will be as poor as she is by morning." She dropped the document on the floor. "Choose Daniel. The crown, or the maid? The ultimate test." Daniel said he didn't care about money, but can he really live in poverty? Madame Gloria is not bluffing. Will Daniel give up his billions for Amara? Or will he break her heart to save his empire? You have to see how this ends. Subscribe now and turn on notifications because the ending will shock you. The air in the mansion was frozen. $1 billion on one side. A girl with bruises on her arms on the other. Daniel bent down. Jessica let out a triumphant giggle. She thought he was picking up the deed. She thought he was choosing the money. But Daniel didn't pick up the paper. He reached down and untied his shoes. He kicked off his expensive Italian loafers. Then he took off his gold watch and placed it on the table. He took out his wallet, full of black cards, and dropped it next to the watch. "What are you doing?" Jessica asked, her smile fading. Daniel turned to Amara. He smiled, a real boyish smile that Amara had never seen before. You walked barefoot in the mud for me, Daniel said softly. So I will walk barefoot out of here for you. He turned to his mother. Keep the house, mother. Keep the company. Keep the billions. They are just paper and stone. But she. He squeezed Amara's hand. She is the only thing in this room that is real. Madame Clou's face was unreadable. She stood like a statue. If you walk out that door, Madame Clou warned, her voice low, you leave as a nobody. No, Daniel corrected her. I leave as a husband. He grabbed Amara's hand. Ready? Amara looked at him with tears in her eyes. I have nothing to give you, Daniel. Only my heart. That is all I ever wanted, he whispered. Together, barefoot and hand in hand, they walked past the stunned staff, past the furious Jessica, and out the heavy front doors into the night. This is the definition of true love. Daniel gave up everything. But can a billionaire really survive in the real world? Hit that subscribe button one last time to see their happy ending. Life outside the palace was hard, but it was beautiful. Daniel had enough cash in his pocket to rent a tiny room in a noisy part of Lagos. There were no servants, no drivers, no chefs. Ouch! Daniel yelled, dropping a spoon. Amara looked up from the bed where she was folding clothes. She laughed. What happened, Mr. Ex-Billionaire? The oil attacked me, Daniel grumbled, glaring at the frying pan. I am trying to fry plantain, but it is fighting back. Amara walked over. She wrapped her arms around his waist from behind and rested her chin on his shoulder. Move over, Chef Daniel, she teased gently. Let the professional handle this. She took the spatula. With effortless grace, she flipped the plantains. The smell of sweet, frying food filled the small room. Daniel watched her. He wasn't looking at the food. He was looking at how the sunlight hit her face. She was wearing a simple cotton dress they bought at the market, but to him she looked more royal than Jessica ever did in diamonds. I am sorry, Daniel said suddenly. Amara turned. Sorry for what? For this, Daniel gestured to the peeling paint on the walls. I promised you a palace. I gave you a closet. Amara turned off the stove. She walked to him and placed her hands on his chest. Daniel, look at me. 2 weeks ago I was sleeping on wet cardboard with rats. Today I am sleeping in a bed with the man I love. We have food. We have a roof. And we have peace. This isn't a closet, Daniel. This is heaven. Daniel's eyes softened. He pulled her close. You are amazing, Amara. I know, she grinned. Now eat your plantain before it burns. They sat on the floor, eating from the same plate, feeding each other. They laughed until their stomachs hurt. They danced to the radio with no music. They were poor, but they were the happiest people in Lagos. Boom, boom, boom. Amara jumped. Who is that? Daniel stood up, his protective instinct kicking in. Stay behind me. He walked to the door. He expected the landlord asking for rent. Or maybe Jessica coming to mock them. He opened the door. Standing in the hallway, dripping wet, holding her golden lion-head walking stick, was Madame Clou. Behind her were 2 bodyguards carrying large boxes. Mother? Daniel asked, stunned. Madame Clou pushed past him, marching into the tiny room. She looked at the small bed. She looked at the cheap stove. She looked at Amara, who was standing respectfully with her head bowed. Madame Clou turned to Daniel. Her face was stern. 3 weeks, she said. You have lasted 3 weeks without asking for a single kobo. You haven't called. You haven't begged. I am happy, Mother, Daniel said firmly. We don't need your money. Madame Clou stared at him. Then, slowly, the corners of her mouth twitched. She smiled. It wasn't a cruel smile. It was a proud smile. Good, she said. Daniel blinked. Good? Madame Clou tapped her stick on the floor. Do you think I built this empire by being stupid? Jessica is a snake. I knew she only wanted your money. I knew she would leave you the moment you fell. She walked over to Amara. She took Amara's hand, not roughly this time but gently. But you, Madame Clou said, her voice softening. You saved his life when he had nothing. And you stayed with him when he gave up everything. You are not a gold digger, my child. You are the gold. Amara looked up, tears in her eyes. Ma. It was a test, Madame Clou announced, turning back to Daniel. I needed to know if you were a man or just a boy with a bank account. You passed, Daniel. You chose character over comfort. She snapped her fingers. The bodyguards brought the boxes in. What is this? Daniel asked. Your suits, Madame Clou said. And Amara's wedding dress. She handed Daniel the deed to the mansion. Jessica has been evicted. I told her father to go to hell. The house is yours. The company is yours. She looked at them both. But promise me one thing, Madame Gloria said. Don't ever let that house become cold again. Keep this. She gestured to the small room. Keep this warmth. Daniel hugged his mother. Thank you. The sun was shining brighter than ever. The garden where Amara once cried was now filled with joy. Daniel stood at the altar, looking handsome in a white tuxedo. He looked nervous. He looked happy. The music started. Amara stepped out. She wasn't wearing the simple cotton dress anymore. She was wearing a gown fit for a queen, covered in lace and crystals. But she wore no shoes. She walked barefoot down the aisle of white rose petals, a symbol of how they left and how they returned. The crowd gasped at her beauty. Even Madame Gloria was dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief in the front row. Amara reached the altar. Daniel took her hands. You saved me in the rain, Daniel whispered, loud enough for the crowd to hear. You taught me that love is not what you buy but what you give. I promise to be your shelter, your warmth, and your servant for the rest of my life. I promise to love you, Amara whispered back, whether we sleep on cardboard or in a castle. You are my home, Daniel. They kissed. Cheers erupted. White doves were released into the sky. The camera moves back to the couple. They are dancing. Amara rests her head on Daniel's chest. Are you happy, Mrs. Gloria? Daniel asked. Amara looked up at him. I was happy the day you held the umbrella over me. Everything else is just extra. Daniel smiled and spun her around. As the camera pulls back, showing the beautiful mansion, the happy couple, and the blue sky, a final message appears on the screen. The end. Thank you for watching this beautiful love story. If this ending made you smile, please like this video and share it with someone you love. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. See you in the next video.